If we can't defend Greenland, Europe is truly finished. Once you are reliant on a foreign force for safety and a foreign power for prosperity, you are no longer completely sovereign. Follow this page for more updates on international news. The rest of the world, Tony Blair's foreign policy advisor Robert Cooper wrote 2 decades ago, reacts to America, fears America, lives under American protection, envies, resents, plots against, depends on America. Every other country defines its strategy in relation to the United States, and in turn, the United States defines its foreign policy aims as effective invulnerability. Fast forward to today, and Donald Trump is ruthlessly pursuing this same policy. Bombing Iran, deposing Nicolas Maduro, threatening war with Colombia, musing on the annexation of Greenland, we need it for defense. Presidents change and domestic policy changes with them. As with the British Empire before it, however, the interests of the American state are eternal and perpetual. It is the duty of the White House to follow them, and the role of others to respond with envy constrained by their dependence or fear. In this case, the reaction in Europe to an explicit proposal for the annexation of European territory has been muted by both. Denmark has complained that Trump has failed to show sufficient respect for international law, and Keir Starmer has politely asked Trump to stop musing on the prospects of conquering part of an allied nation. Beyond this squawking, however, there is no response because Europe has no response to offer beyond hoping that Trump forgets about this issue and moves on. We are not going to see U.S. forces conducting midnight raids to capture Danish politicians or shots fired in anger over the fate of Greenland. Europe is not going to fight America because it can't, and America is not going to fight Europe because it has no need to. If Trump really wants the territory and isn't just enjoying the sight of European politicians scrambling to cover their shame, then he could apply deeply painful leverage until he gets his way. The continent's security is still guaranteed by American boots on European ground and the outcome of the conflict on its eastern flank by the flow of American weapons to Ukraine. If push comes to shove, I would bet on Trump using this leverage to get what he wants in Greenland through some means short of outright annexation, declaring that in the absence of new American installations and new treaties that deployments to Europe will need to wind down to preserve forces for the protection of the homeland. The diplomatic side will be smoothed over. The fault lines will still exist. Read the responses from European leaders, and there is a hint of rulers who have relied on outsiders to maintain their forces, and have belatedly understood that the interests of those outsiders do not always align with their own. In this at least, they are in company. The last Western Roman emperor was deposed by foreign allies garrisoned within his territory when their demands for land were denied. The Normans entered southern Italy as mercenaries and ended up ruling over swathes of territory. The Mamluks began as foreign slave soldiers and became sultans. The European nations of the present day have spent decades freeloading on American defense spending, paying lip service to the American political obsessions of the day on diversity, migration, democracy, and other cultural issues in exchange for this defense. Geir Lundestad coined the term empire by invitation to describe this process, embracing dependence and ever greater American intervention in the life of the continent. When American and European interests were aligned, this dependence and intervention was tolerable. The constraints rarely chafed. As American relative power has waned, however, the tasks necessary to secure the homeland and to secure Europe have begun to diverge. Almost 3 years ago, Elbridge Colby wrote in the